Hey friends, welcome back to Hey Wait. Today's episode is all about the power of letting go, of perfectionism, of pressure, and of the belief that you have to have it all figured out in order to lead, connect, or belong. And you're about to meet someone who lives that truth out loud, Erin Diehl, aka Erin Big Deal. Erin is a business improv edutainer, a failfluencer, and professional Zoombie. And through a series of unrelated dares, she created Improve It, an improv-infused talent development company that helps the next generation of leaders and teams grow through play, connection, and experiential learning. She's also the host of the Workday Playdate podcast, which is in the top 1% of global podcasts. And she's the proud coercer of over 44,000 professionals into doing the chicken dance. Legend. Erin's book, I See You, A Leader's Guide to Energizing Your Team Through Radical Empathy, is a permission slip to lead others and yourself differently. Not through pressure, not through perfectionism, but through presence, radical empathy, and a whole lot of humanity. I first met Erin years ago when she had me on her podcast, and right away it felt like old friends reconnecting. We're both Tauruses, both highly empathetic, recovering people pleasers, both experiential educators, and both always up for a deep laugh and some impromptu silliness. And what I love about Erin is how she uses her humor and her huge heart to create spaces where people feel safe enough to drop their masks and to show up as their real selves. In a world that tells you you have to be serious to be taken seriously, Erin proves that joy and connection are serious sources of power. And just like every guest on the show, Erin has lived her own hey wait moment, realizing that the constant chase to be liked and perfect was leading her toward burnout. And she shares how choosing herself didn't just change her, it changed how she leads, how she connects, and how she inspires others to do the same. So if you've been feeling the pressure to hold it all together, or if you've been wondering if there's a way to lead or live without losing yourself, or if you just need a good laugh, this one's for you. Hello, Erin.
Hi, Jay. I'm so excited for this.
I am thrilled to have you here. I'm a little less thrilled to have the chipper going outside. You listener, like 4 minutes before we went to record, tree crew showed up right outside. Chipper's going. I think they might be leaving for lunch soon. We'll see. But either way, if you guys hear something in the background, everybody's safe. We're okay. It's just a chipper. And Erin,
And
you're here.
a chipper Erin. A chipper Erin ready.
You are
ready to
chipper,
chat.
aren't you?
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny. We always say in improv, there are no mistakes, only gifts. And maybe the gift of the chipper was to just let the audience know, like, you and I, we've been on some shows together. We keep it real. And that's how it goes. Like, that's the gift.
This is true. Well, and I've been on your show, I think
Yes.
3 times.
Yes.
Isn't that right? So,
Well, yeah, because we did one long episode with you, and then we changed it into 2 episodes. Like, we split it
okay,
into 2.
because we couldn't stop talking.
Yeah. And so
That happens.
then you just came back and crushed it per usual with the hey wait technique, which I've been using, which we'll talk about. But yeah, I'm so stoked to be on your show.
I know. I'm very excited. You were so excited about Hey Wait. I think primarily because you and I are somehow like twins separated at birth, so it's
real.
working for you. And so I'm going to start with a heavy hitting question, actually, because now the tables are turned and I get to interview you. And as I realize it, as I'm saying that right now, it's not even a question, it's a statement. So there you go. When I was reading your book, I See You, which, by the way, what a sweet name for a book.
Oh.
I See You. I love that.
Yeah.
I learned that you and I have yet another thing in common, and that is when we were little, we both wanted to be Oprah when we grew up.
Jay, you better stop it right now. Okay.
Oh, that's true.
Legit, you better stop it. Because I feel like you and I are so connected in so many ways.
I
But
know.
you know what's crazy? I have a vision board. I'm talking in my podcast closet. It's a closet. Okay.
It is a closet, you guys.
It is a closet. And then I just made it into a little recording space. But behind me, I have a vision board. And do you know what's literally like staring back at me all day long? That beautiful woman, Oprah. I call it lots of opportunities.
Oh, do you
Okay.
mean a vision board like this with Oprah sitting right there?
Yes, I do. Just like that,
I
Jay.
mean, Just like that.
Just
Does
like
your
that.
vision board look exactly like mine?
No,
Probably.
well, ish. There's Oprah. There's that. But yeah, she's looking at me. She's right there. But I love that you wanted to be Oprah. She's like such a guiding light and such a wonderful human.
So here's the thing. When I announced my podcast was coming out, when I made the newsletter announcement, I said, like, this is my childhood dream coming true because this is me becoming Oprah in my mind. And what I said in that was, you know, I think for so many little girls, she was the representation of, you know, what they looked like being in the world. But for me, and I'm sure this is true for you, she was the representation in the world of what I felt like on the inside, like being wired for empathy.
Yeah.
And being kind of silly, but also really deep and playful and also vulnerable, all those things. I'd never seen anybody do that. And I was like, I want to be like that when I grow up. And I'm imagining that's kind of what it was for you. Like, that's how you are wired as well.
Yes. Okay. Those were perfect words. Yes. And I will say to that, that she made other people feel how I want people to feel in my presence. Like watching her and how she just made people feel so seen and loved, and she deeply empathized with them. And, you know, she was fired from her first job in television news for being too emotional, like legit. And they were like, you can't be on camera because you are empathizing with this family whose home burned down. Like, you're crying with them. Like, you can't cry. You got to tell the facts. And she did it her way. And I think that it just served her so well. And I lived in Chicago, and like through osmosis, I really wanted to just like meet her. And I got to tell you a story. Can I tell you a fun fact?
Of course, yeah.
So this was like back in the day when you couldn't have direct access. This was like 2007 when like the internet was like just getting beyond the, you know, like MySpace, Facebook just came out, like all that. And, so I saw she was hiring at Harpo for an executive assistant for a senior supervising producer. And I found the email address of all the senior supervising producers. I just like cracked the code on what the formula was. Whoa. And I sent my resume in. And I went in for a frickin' interview. And I was like pooping my pants. There's another theme around here, pooping. I was so like, I was like, are you kidding? Where is she? Like, she's behind the curtain. Where's Oz? You know? And I bet I didn't get the job because I'm pretty sure that senior supervising producer could feel the thirst trap that I was in. and that's okay. That's okay. But I just like remember just getting like that close to her. And then I did get to go see an episode of it before they closed the show in Chicago. Oh. And I just like cried in that audience. It wasn't even one of her best shows. It was like a show she like phoned somebody in on a screen. Nobody was really there. It was just the coolest thing to be in the same room as her. And so I feel you so deeply on that. I love her so much.
Well, and I imagine there are people that feel that way about you because you have touched a lot of people with your work, other than coercing so many people into the chicken dance, which is love. That's probably a love language as well, in some sort. But, you know, I've seen you get off the stage and go hug people. I've seen you definitely dance around. I've seen you cry with people. Like, that's...
Yeah. I almost want to cry right now.
She's in you. I know.
Thank you. God bless it. We are empaths, aren't we? Yes, that is.
I know. I so many times when I'm talking to people on this show, I'm just like tearing up. So it'll happen again today. Okay, so you didn't quite become Oprah. You didn't get that job and then go in the trajectory of working for Harpo and all of that. But who you've been and the path that you've been on, I hate that word. How do I want to say that? The different experiences you've had in your life have definitely led to what you're doing. You know, and I often say, and we've talked about this before, where you give away the work that you most need.
Yeah.
And you've created a very unique body of work. So tell us a little bit about what it is in your background that has led you to be doing what you do.
That is such a good question, Jay. Also, if you hear a snore, my dog Big Deal is next to me snoring right now. So he's an 8-pound toy poodle. What led me to this work was okay, it's just going down the Oprah path. I knew I wanted to make people feel good. And I didn't know, like, I was like, I want a talk show. I always said that in high school. People knew, like, I wanted to be a talk show host. That was my maiden name was Holbrook, not as fun as Diehl. And I would always say the Erin Holbrook show, but like I had nothing to talk about. I just knew I wanted to make people feel good.
Give me a microphone. I could do this.
Where I was like, I'm going to become a florist and everybody's happy when they see a florist, right? Like
I was a flower delivery girl for a period of time, and nobody's unhappy to see you. It's the best ever.
It seems like, and so I was like, what can I do that makes people feel good and it brings me joy? So cut to my 20s when I was trying to be this talk show host. Anyway, I stumbled into an improv class. And when I got into that class, I was like, I'm home. It was like when you get home from work and you take your bra off and you just feel like you can let loose. I was like, this is where my weird can shine. I don't have to like put myself in a box or a bubble. And I can play. And it felt so freaking freeing. I just wanted more and more of it. First of all, the best form of therapy I've ever done. Everything I've created in a scene was something going on in my life. And it was just this amazing art form that made me better personally, professionally. At the time, I was working at a recruiting firm, and I just saw everything I was doing at my day job like reflected in my improv, and my improv reflected in my day job, and I just knew there was this connection. And so it led me to starting Improve It. And we started off as, I knew I wanted it to be bigger than me, not just me facilitating. I knew there's so many talented improvisers out there. So I now have a team of 20 improv professionals between New York, Chicago, LA. As you know, LA, your homeland. And they have been with me the shortest tenures since 2018, but everybody else since 2014 or 2016, and are just the most amazing humans. But I knew I wanted to do something that could create joy in the corporate world, because I was in the corporate world and I was stifled and I was bored. And I also knew I wanted to teach things sort of like that I needed to be taught. You know what they say? You teach what you need to know. So, we have a catalog of 12 different workshops that we teach on, and all of those were based off of needs from clients and things we saw people in corporate America needed. But then my keynotes are a little bit more vulnerable, and the first one's all about failure, and that really is because I was failing left and right. I needed to learn how to overcome it. And the second one is called the empathetic leader, and that's because I really found myself in that self-healing journey you and I have talked so much about, that I wanted to help other people find themselves too, so they could be the empathetic leader that they want to be led by. And so it just was this sort of brick by brick process. And then I built this house of just joy.
You're still building it too. I think that's the other piece that I admire about your work, is that it is a continual work in progress and iteration, and you're always playing, and as you're evolving, it's evolving, which is the only way that it works. But there are people who stifle that, and you don't stifle that.
Thank you, Jay. Man, you're the best. I just love you're such a vibe. Your audience is so lucky, because I feel like you're so present, and you also like really see people too, and that's just a gift. So
thank you. It is also, as we were kind of saying a little bit before the recording, it's also a burden. This, or what's the word I'm looking for? A liability, maybe the word. The level of empathy that leads to people pleasing.
Yeah.
That we both have. I mean, that is so a part of your story that I know from talking to you, that in your book, your book is separated into 3 parts. And the first part is about self-love. And so much of that is about all these stories in your younger years of like hustling and people pleasing, and how that led to your burning out. But Erin, when I was reading them, I was like, oh God, my nervous system knows this so well. And I was kind of like, I don't want to read this, because it was, It was,
Triggering.
I could, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like, where are the trigger warnings in your book, Erin?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I should have done that. I should have done that. That needed a thought. Yeah. Oh, well, it pains me that you saw yourself in there because I know like that's what actually I wanted to happen. And I should have given you
Yeah.
that trigger warning. But like, yeah, when I read some of those stories too, I feel a completely different feeling in my body than I feel right now. Like my body feels different. And I know like I know you are a somatic teacher. Like I know when I'm out of alignment. I know what that feels like. And I was out of alignment for basically like 38 years of my life. And I would even dare to say 40 years of my life. And
Let's
I'm
just round
42.
up.
Yeah, yeah. And I like, man, it
So it's
took,
pretty recent for you then that you feel like you've had that alignment.
yeah, it took, well, I guess I started sort of discovering this work and healing and sort of mindfulness and meditation and spiritual work probably in about 2017 when I was going through a lot of infertility treatments because I really believe, Jay, I had to learn to mother myself before I could learn to mother anybody else because the self wasn't selfing. There was no self, like there was no awareness. And so I really got deep into that practice. And then in 2022, basically 2021 to 2023, I was in severe chronic pain. And my body was screaming at me to listen. It had tried to whisper and I didn't listen. And then, you know, the pain was so constant and it was so painful. Just, and there's lack of a better word. I would cry myself to sleep at night because I was like, when will this pain stop? No one could heal it. No doctor. And then when I started just digging inward into the emotions, into my stress, into what was causing me to feel this way, that's when I started to feel the pain release. And I have to tell you, it was 2.5 years of chronic pain, doctors, x-rays, MRIs, all the things, blood work. No one could find the source of it. But once I sat with myself and really listened and then dug deep into the work that is Erin Diehl and understood why I was the way I was and why I was doing these things and where the pain stemmed from, I healed myself without drugs, without surgery.
Wow.
And guess what? The pain comes back, Jay, when I'm out of alignment.
I bet it does.
And I
Isn't
was.
that wacky?
Yep.
I mean, this is how wise our bodies are.
Yeah. And we were just talking. Can I curse on your show? I don't know.
Please, yes,
Okay,
yeah.
we were just talking shit, literally and figuratively, before we hit record. And I gotta tell you, short story for everybody. I was in Mexico City with my family. I got Montezuma's revenge. We were literally talking shit. And, but I'll tell you, my body prior to going to Mexico City was hurting. I was feeling the same pain in my back and my shoulders that I felt for those 2 years because I was running myself in the ground, because I wasn't listening, because I was putting the weight of others on my shoulder, because I was saying yes to everybody in my life except myself, because there was no Erin time. There was for others time. There was no down. There was no rest. And when I finally allowed myself to go on a vacation with my family. Yeah. It was one giant fart, one giant whoopee cushion. And it was like, girl, you got to cleanse this shit and get it out because you're holding too much. And so in that space, like I tuned in and I listened to myself and it was like, you are holding way too much. We need to cleanse you of the people that you've put first in your life and the things on your calendar. It was like a calendar colonic, a calendar colonoscopy. It was like, you need to get shit off your calendar that is not serving you, that is like just a time suck, that is no longer in alignment with who you are. So, because we have more stuff to do. We're not done. And you can't move forward while you're still holding on to things that don't serve you. So like the cleanse for me, I'm calling it the great purge. It was the great purge. It was like the catalyst to letting go of some things I should have let go a long time ago. And I'm not kidding you, Jay, because I freed myself of some of this shit. Like, and I keep saying the word shit because literally and figuratively, I cleared everything.
Yeah.
so much is coming to my space. Like I'm getting downloads about things that I've been having trivial thoughts of for like the past 6 months. And I'm like, what should I do about this? What should I do about this? And I'm getting clarity. And I'm like hitting the frontal lobe part of my brain, which is where logic and reasoning happens. And I'm not stuck in the amygdala, the fear center, where I'm just like turning around, you know? It's great. It's weird.
I mean, no, it's not weird. It's like, of course. Of course. This is what the body does. It tells us exactly what we need to hear. And if we listen, we get the relief, we get the downloads, we get the freedom, we get the clarity. I've experienced it over and over again. So much so that it's like, you would think I would have gotten the message, you know, to not have to get the Montezuma's revenge, or I know both of you and I have both had concussions,
Yes,
which were, you know, massively life-changing and altering in the sense of what we're capable of attending to outside of ourselves. So yeah, I mean, it happens over and over again. And I'm sure the person listening is like, yeah, I've had lessons from my body too, because it will not let you continue. And look, as I say that, I think there's a lot of people for whom they can push through it.
yeah.
For whatever reason, they're able to ignore the signals, the symptoms, and keep operating. But I've never been one of those people, and the people I work with aren't those kind of people. We're the people who we feel the shit big, and we gotta listen.
You know, you're so right. I have a dear friend of mine kind of going through the pain right now, the chronic pain. And I'm like, just read the book. Like, you're my best friend. Read this book and turn inward, and you will stop having to go to all these doctor's appointments. But they got to figure it out for themselves. And she keeps going despite the pain. She keeps pushing despite the angst and anxiety. And my inner self was like, this isn't going to work, because I think the work that you and I do, Jay, like we're supposed to be the healers to help heal the others. And if we're unhealed, like we can't help. And that's what I feel very called to do, is like help, right?
But if it's also true that if we haven't been on our knees, or we haven't been shitting our brains out, whatever the equivalent metaphor is, we can't help as well either.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm very clear that if I was one of those people who could push through pain and ignore it, I can't help people either.
Yeah.
It's having been through it that makes it legit.
Yep.
Real
Yes.
deal, as it were.
Real deal.
In your case.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I know for sure, like Oprah, what I know for sure is that if I did not, the book was written from that clearing of going inward and discovering where that pain came from. That download for the book, actually, I think I've told you this before, like it was truly a guided experience. I did write it by myself, but my hands were guided. Do you know what I mean? And
I do.
I can tell you a crazy story about that too, and how that came to be, but I would never have gotten that download if my brain and my body weren't talking, and the mind body connection wasn't there, and if I didn't clear myself of like the pain that I was carrying around.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I've ever told you this, or you don't know this about me, but my master's degree my thesis was about helping people to connect to their body so they could hear their own guidance.
I did not.
Which is
know
what
that.
I hear you just saying. Like when you get clear and connected to your body, you do get the downloads. And to me, guidance is that place where it's both you and bigger than you, and however that comes through you at the same time. And so that's what I hear in what you're saying. Like once you got really deeply connected to yourself in a way that was attentive and caring, you get that thing come through you that's you, but bigger than you.
That's it. Oh, it's so freaking cool. I want to read it. Can you send me that thesis? Like, I'm like,
Oh my gosh, it is. You
is
know
it
what?
in a filing cabinet? Yeah.
I sent it to my mom afterward, because my parents are so supportive. They're always reading everything. And she was like, I don't understand. This is so, it was academic writing. One day I will turn it into writing that a normal human would read. It's so,
I
it's
love it.
really bad. But all that to say, I get what you're talking about in terms of being able to speak from that place. And when you're talking about that healing that you went through, that to me is a big, hey, wait moment, right? Like that is the no shit, I got to look at my stuff. And I have to look at these patterns of people pleasing and hustling and all of that. But I'm imagining, and I know a little bit just from following you and talking with you, that since that giant, like all caps, hey, wait moment, there are smaller, hey, wait moments that are like, what's the word I'm looking for? Maintenance.
Oh yeah.
As it were.
Yeah.
So can you give us an example of what it looks like? Because you said, since we talked about, I'm like, you said,
Yeah.
you said since we last talked and I told you about, hey, wait, you're like using it. So
I'm using it everywhere.
What does it look like in the maintenance moments?
Yeah. Okay. Everybody listen up. Mark my words. Jay Fields is going to be the next Mel Robbins with, hey, wait, this shit works because it's dialed down and it's so easy to remember and it's so simple, but it's hard to put into practice. Right. So like, Jay, let me say this for free. I have been.
I don't have to pay you.
No, this is free 99.
Okay, cool.
Like I am constantly dealing with this people pleasing pattern. It is constant, and it's like because I feel like I wear many hats as everyone does. Mm-hmm. I'm a mom. I'm a room mom at my kid's school, which that I should have, said no to. Put
that on the list.
Put that on the list. I'm a leader for my team. I'm also a speaker for my clients. I'm a podcast host for my community. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter, sister, like all the things. And, when somebody asks me to do something, if it's not a hell yes for me, it's so hard for me to say no. And like those micro, hey, wait moments come up every single day. But I'll tell you, the one that I'm thinking of specifically wasn't even like a macro. I'll call it like a mini macro. Not a micro, a mini macro. Yeah. But it was the thing I was telling you about coming back from Mexico City and realizing like, hey, wait a minute. I've been giving so freaking much to things that I don't even like. Like, I'm just going to say it. I had this meeting on my calendar. I'm going to say it was on a Friday. Okay. I'm just changing the days for the innocent. And, and let's say this, we've been meeting for a long time and it was just sort of like a mastermind. But in that meeting, like I did not feel the vibe. Like I felt like every time I got off the call, I didn't feel good. It started my day. It sort of was just a thing I was doing to check a box to say I was doing it. And I realized like, this is the start to my day. And I've been doing this every week for how many years? And it's not something I enjoy. I'm going to get rid of that. Let me purge. Hey, wait, what is this doing for me? And what am I doing for them? Nothing, because I don't really want to be there. So I got to get that off my calendar. So I did. I sent a text and said, hey, I'm going to stop joining this group for a while and I'll let you know if I want to come back. And to be honest with you, no one responded and that kind of sucked. And I'm living with that, but I'm also like, it's what it is. And that just showed me right there. That was a hey, wait moment. Like I did. And guess what, Jay? Since I've let go of that, I've been asked by a mentor of mine who I greatly admire to join another mastermind.
Just like that.
Just like that. Another example. I got more, but we'll stop there if you want to stop there. I got more.
I just want to pop in and say that is a perfect example of you notice something feels off.
Yeah.
Like, this is how it starts, and how it can get easily ignored. Like, you could easily have gone, this doesn't feel good, I'm going to keep doing it. This doesn't feel good. But the moment, and I'm saying this for my sake and for the listener's sake, because we all need to, all of us people pleasers need this reinforced. When you feel something doesn't feel good to you,
Yeah.
when you feel it feels off, that's the hey, wait moment.
Yeah.
And then you get to say, what do I need here? And I'm sorry that this is one of those examples in which you didn't get the, oh, totally understand, we support you 100%, Erin. And I'm really glad that you shared that example, because that isn't the point.
Yeah.
The point isn't to have external validation and support for it. It makes it a lot fucking easier, for sure.
Yeah.
But you did end up getting validation by getting the mentor reaching out and offering, like it comes around.
So fast. Like, it was like 2 days later, I was like, holy shit. I'm going to keep saying shit on this show. Like, I was like, this is wild. And I was a part of a text group that I had been a part of for years that was doing like a morning workout, and they were restarting it, and it just went off every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like, every morning my text would go off and I would silence it. And I was like, why am I still on this?
Text groups.
I know text groups stress me out. And then to leave the conversation as a people pleaser is so hard. So I wrote a funny little quip like, hey, I know that myself, I'm not getting up that early. Please do a crunch for me. And I said, I'm leaving the group. And I just got out of the conversation, and it felt freeing AF. Like, I was like, this is a purge. And that was another hey, wait moment before I sent that, sort of goodbye, which they're my neighbors. I'll see them every day, but just to relieve.
That's often the case, right? Bye. I'll see you tomorrow.
But like, to relieve myself from this anxiety of this group chat going off every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was like, I got to get rid of this. It's causing me some mental space that I don't need. And like, it really validated the fact that I don't have to be in that space. They're going to live by me no matter what. And I'm going to love them no matter what. I just don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. I just don't, to go do the workout. But I love them, and we're going to still be friends. But a part of me 4 years ago, would have never left that text. I would have just kept going, like, when can I leave it? But I just wouldn't. I'd probably talk about it.
Oh, right. You're waiting for the act of God to let you out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And these are like simple things, but like, it's made such a big difference.
This is the thing. It is the simple things that add up to be your life. And as a people pleaser, I can't tell you how many people, myself included, that I talk to about, it's like, you have to wait for either the act of God, the sickness, or just the day where you're like, I'm going to blow everything up.
Yes.
In order to get yourself back, unless you can see the tiny little moments that allow for that. And I say this, you haven't heard this yet, but at the end of every show, how I close is by saying, your insides matter, and the right people can meet you there. So stay with yourself. And that's the thing. Like, this is why it's risky. It's your neighbors.
Yeah.
And if you say something about your insides, hey, this isn't working for me anymore, and it upsets them and they can't meet you there, it does make life a little more difficult, a little more challenging. But at some point, maybe when we turn 40, somewhere around there, I feel like women in their 40s get, you know what? F this.
Yeah.
Like, if they can't make space for me and still show up like a grown-up with me.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to be putting the energy into that anyway.
That's it. One of the girls on my team, the women, I should say, on my team, Nicole, she said something in a meeting this other day. She goes, we're all here just on this rock together. Like, and it just made so much sense in the context that she said it. Like, we're only here as a blip of time on this giant rock, and it's short. And we shouldn't stress about the things like, but I'm saying this out loud. I stressed about leaving that text for like 2 weeks, Jay. 2 weeks. I stressed about leaving that group for months. I mean, but I could have relieved that stress by just saying, hey, wait, what do I need? And what do they need? They need a present person in the meeting. They need.
Well, and sometimes it does take 2 weeks. I'm with you on that. I've done the thing where all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm gonna like hold my nose and press send.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Like,
Yes. 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 And that's exactly what I did. And it was like, once I cleared it though, Jay, I gotta tell you, I got these like downloads on a Thursday night. I was meditating and it was like, we're gonna create sort of like, I'm a big to-do list person. We're gonna create a purge list for you. And I created this purge list and I kind of got little things week by week I'm gonna purge. And that happened on a Friday. So Thursday I get the downloads. Friday I do the 2 purges I've committed to that week. And then Saturday, I can't even tell you, was the most relaxing day I've had in so long. And it was just myself and my husband and I, or my husband and son, and we have this boat membership. We don't own a boat, but we rent one every month. And so we went out on the boat, just the 3 of us. We went to this island. It sounds magical because Charleston's beautiful. So is LA. Like when you live near the ocean, like you have to get out in nature. And so we went to this island that everybody boats to, but it was just the 3 of us. And like John played with my son Jackson while I took a nap on the beach. Like the nap for me was like a freaking trophy. I was like, girl, yes. And then we got tacos and custard. And I was like, this day, I didn't
and custard.
And custard. I did not look at my phone. I did not care. I took like 1 picture and it was so magical. And I just know it was like my body was like, thank you. It was like that sigh.
I'm like, thank you. You just healed me from reading those chapters in your book that were so triggering. That was like the opposite for my nervous system right there. I was like a nap and some tacos and some custard.
Yes, tacos.
I'm here for that.
Yes. And like, I lived like that for a really long time. And so I think the gift of peace to myself is what I'm going for now. I don't, you know what I mean? It's not a like nice to have, it's a requirement.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's not a path that's been laid out for that.
Right.
I think that is one you have to bushwhack the crap out of for yourself.
You gotta be the chipper.
And claim. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Chipper. Out there. It's still going.
Can't even hear it. But you got to chip it away at your own. And like for me, rest was like for the lazy, for the slothy people. That's what I literally my friend takes naps and I always judge the naps. I was like, wow, good for you. You have time to take a nap on your weekend. Like I was so Judge Judy, like, you know, and she did it right. And I got another friend who lives here and he's married to one of my best friends. Does not have an app on his phone, Jay. I don't know how in 2025 you don't have an app. He texts and emails. That's it. But I'm like, dude, we're always making fun of him. But at the end of the day, you're doing it right.
Oh my God. I can't tell you. I could be a neo-Luddite like super easy. I could walk away from all the technology. I really could. I just don't. I mean, I lived my 20s kind of off the grid, like living out of my truck, living in a yurt. I was off the grid, Erin. That's how I tried to manage my people pleasing. I just kind of disconnected from everybody, which is why I do the work I do. Is like, okay, so you can't be disconnected from the world, especially if you want to be Oprah and help people and change people's lives. You have to be connected. And this balance of like, how do I create space and time for myself? How do I make the time for naps and say no to things and all of that, while also really feeling good about how I care for the people in my life? Yeah, that is a fine line. And that is really, again, to go back to your work and to your book, that's what you're, talking about, is like how to care for yourself, energize yourself so that you can lead others and do so with radical empathy. This is kind of your word. And I want to make sure, we've been talking a lot about our own empathy, but when you're talking about leading with radical empathy, what does that mean? And why is that so important?
Yeah. Well, I think the talking we've done up to this point, Jay, is like so integral because you as a leader cannot lead with radical empathy unless you have empathy for yourself first. Like when I teach this out, this is one of my keynotes. People are shocked because they're like, I've always thought about empathy, about giving to the other person. And what most of the talk is about, and what most of this book, the very first part of I See You, is literally about self love and self empathy and giving enough here so that you have enough to give outwardly. And I always say empathy isn't putting on somebody else's shoes. It's like slipping on a pair of their Nike Dunks, walking around in it, getting a blister, handing them back the shoe and being like, okay, I see where you got that cut. I feel it. And I'm not taking on that energy, but now I can understand your pain. And so it takes a strong person to be able to help other people. Like we were just saying, like we can't heal and be the Oprahs we want to be without like showing up as the highest version of ourselves and giving to ourselves first. Like I cannot talk to my team unless I've exercised in the morning. That's just my thing. It's not even hardcore. Like I would call it a light jog as a run. Like it is the slowest jog ever. But like I need to move my body and allow myself to feel like I've filled my cup so I can pour into others. And once you start to do that, like once people really feel seen and heard and valued, people want to show up. People become more productive. People, the organization thrives, they thrive, and then you become like this magnet, and people are attracted to people that make them feel like sunshine. And so you don't the work you have to do isn't outward, is what I'm learning over and over and over and over and over again from the universe. It's like you start here inwardly and do this work. And it will just like, you will literally be attracting, like everything will come to you because you have enough here to give outwardly. And what you're giving is raw and real and genuine, and people can feel that. And so you can create communities, you can create teams, you can create associations with that magnetic energy, but you can't not do the work yourself. That's the thesis statement of the book, essentially.
Thank you. That is very well stated. And I'm wondering, do people, because you teach this all over the world, and when people hear that, are they like, yeah, I'm down with that? Or are they like, how do I even do that?
Jay, it's so funny. You know, I got my theories on who takes it in best.
Okay.
And I've been in a lot of rooms with it. For whatever reason, and this is, I'm just going to say it because I love our gender, women rooms, breathe it in. You can feel like a sigh of relief. Yes. They are so hungry. Yeah. Like they are so grateful to check in, to be validated inwardly because they've been running, and they don't ever check in with themselves. So the talks that I give are like allowing them to check in, right? And I won't say that co-ed rooms, some co-ed rooms are great, but I will say when there's a culture, if I'm working with teams, when there's a culture of perfectionism or a lack of vulnerability, those are the hardest rooms. Those are hard. And
I've been in some of those rooms and you're like, let's be vulnerable. And you just get the brick wall.
They're like throwing darts at your face. And I call it out. I'm like, I know that you've judged me 30 times since I've walked in here. And I literally said this to one room. I was like, I know you've judged me 30 times since I walked in here today. And I said, I don't care. That's why I'm wearing a power pajama suit. And this is...
Can't touch me in this suit.
That's right. And I'm like, listen, this is the work. And either you're willing to do it or not. And I got to tell you, that room that felt really hard, I actually did this keynote, The Empathetic Leader, with the room. It was a co-ed room. And I got off the stage and my team was with me and we were going to do some workshops after with the same population. And I met my team and they were like, are you okay? And I was not great because I was like, man, I gave a lot out there. I don't think it was well received. We got in the workshop And they kept bringing stuff back in that they heard me say. And we had 2 separate rooms going at the same time. And the other room had Christy, my director of talent, in there. And she said they kept talking about the keynote and saying things. And then they had the best time in those workshops. But I think it just hit them over the head with vulnerability. And they weren't expecting that. But they came alive in these interactive and, experiential sessions. And it's, it takes vulnerability to do it. And I know not everyone is in a place in their life where they can do it. So I now have a rule in the back of my mind. I got this actually from Wayne Dyer. Like if I can get like mass consensus, like if I could get 50%, like 52% of the room to understand, then it's a win.
Right. Yeah. And that's even high. I feel like when I've been in situations like that, I'm like, if I can get 2 or 3 people who come up to me at the end and go, I really needed to hear that because this culture is killing me.
Yeah.
That also feels like a win because that's the I see you. I mean, that's what you're doing, right? Like if you walk out of a room and someone feels seen.
Yes.
Because of what you said or how you were. Because that's the other thing about what I love about you is you don't just talk about things, like you are yourself in this way that's unapologetic and sunshiny and intoxicating or really obnoxious and annoying.
Yeah.
Depending on who the person is.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's the right person, they need it so bad. And it's going to be like medicine.
And as a recovering
I just called you annoying. I'm sorry.
I received that. No, I received it all because, but listen, because people think, and I got to tell you, this is another thing with the people pleasing. Like people meet me and they don't think that I'm like this all the time. But
I can see that. But
you know what I mean? And
yeah.
My husband jokes, he's like, there's either she's like this or she's asleep. And like, and he's like, there's really no, like, if I'm watching TV, I'm chilling, but like, this is it. And I used to, from years of people pleasing and moving a lot, honestly, try to get everybody again to like me. Same thing. I'd walk in these rooms years ago when my ego was leading the charge and I'd be like, oh, everybody in this room, they got to like me. I got to, what I'm about to do, I'm going to force them to like me. And I flipped the switch and I was like, listen, who gives a shit? It's not about me. I have a message. And if I'm here to serve one person, if I'm here to make somebody feel seen, heard, and valued, and this change, like I've literally, some of the activities we do are very vulnerable. And I've had women come up to me and some men and say, like with tears in their eyes, thank you.
Yeah.
And to somebody who doesn't find joy in their life, I'm the most annoying person. I'm like joy from inside out and they want to like swat me. Because they're if you've seen the Pixar movie, like they're one of the other emotions. And I try really hard to protect my energy and my vibe. And I used to like get really internally angry or like upset by it, but I see it so differently now. Like I'm just going to show up and I'm going to be kind and I'm going to try to just make you feel good. And if you can't receive that, I've done my job.
Yeah.
And I actually, and same with like online people, like the more I've posted and you and I've talked about this, like people love you or they hate you. And if they hate you, they're going to say stuff. And that's just the internet. And I used to get really worked up about it. And now I'm just like, I'm sorry. Like that's where you're at today, that you wanted to talk to a stranger on the internet angrily.
Right.
And that's why the work we do is so necessary, because you could change that. Like you could be off your screen doing something that fills your cup with joy.
Yeah. You could be napping. But yeah, I've come a long way with that. That was a big people pleaser pattern. Oh yeah.
Like, and still comes up all the time, but feel like a purpose now. I feel like I know the assignment, and that's what made it different.
100%. I mean, that is why I haven't been on Instagram for years and years and years, is because it just was too triggering, too hard. But once I found this purpose of like, no, I really want to help people rewrite the way they are in relationships, the rules of how they are in relationship. Like, this is a mission.
Yes.
It isn't about me anymore. People can say what they say or like me or not like me. It's the mission, getting that out there.
And when you act, like, I've just seen this again, time and time and time play out. When I first started posting things, the ego was so high. Like, there's a big vulnerability there. And now I see it as part of the assignment. And I literally just look at myself as like, I don't even know her. I'm like the mascot.
Oh, funny.
You know, like I'm just like the mouthpiece, and I'm like, okay, here it comes. Just do it, like, and I truly do feel. I'm just gonna say it. I do feel like, because I've turned inward, and I'm not saying I am perfect. God knows there's like 800 things I still have to fix, and always a work in progress. But I feel like I have the ability now to trust myself. And so when I go on camera or when I go in these rooms, I just open myself up to the universe and I'm like, what does this room need? Let it flow through. And I sometimes don't even know what like right now I'm talking, but like I have no clue what's coming out of my mouth. Like it just it just kind of flows. And I asked to like serve your people. Like I'm like, what does her people need today? And I don't know. And it took me a long time to figure out that I could do that. And it took me a long time to trust that voice. So it's not an overnight thing. And I think people listening, if they struggle with people pleasing and perfectionism, if you can flip your mindset to service and just say, you know, what can I do to support this space? And then also with that, like allow rest in your life, because as a people pleaser, you're constantly giving and giving and giving. So like with an off switch, allow yourself to serve. So much will come back to you. Like you don't have to try as hard.
I love that. Orient to service, have an off switch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm already just going to say I'm going to invite you another time, because we didn't even get to talking about failing. And I really wanted to talk to you about your approach to failing and being a failfluencer, which is so good. So you're going to come back and talk about failing. But today, I think you did what you came to do, which was you spoke what needed to be heard today. And I think there's a lot of people listening who are like us, empathic people pleasers, who just needed that little shot in the arm again of remembering, oh yeah, I get to do something that feels good for me.
That's it.
So how can people find you?
Well,
Big deal.
I will come back on this show. You'll find me here again. No, I'm just kidding.
You will. You will.
You will. So I think probably the easiest is my website. It's Erin Diehl, DIEHL.com. And you can find all the social things there. I have a show that Jay's been on. It's now called Workday Playdate Podcast. Yes. And you got to listen to Jay's episode. Well, that was like a couple, I don't know when this is coming out, but you were on our show in April of 2025 and back in 2023 too. So you got to come find Jay over there. And if your peeps want, I have something called the Empathy Cheat Sheet. And it's a very simple 3-part list of helpful phrases you can use before heading into any conversation or meeting or email, whatever it might be. So I'll give that to Jay. Hopefully we can put it in the show notes.
Absolutely.
Grab it. And
absolutely.
That's it.
And here's, for those of you who are looking at the video, this is the book, I See You. So good. We've already given you the trigger warning, so now you get to just enjoy all the good insights and tools and reflections. It's really, I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Jay.
So with that, this is how we end always. This is the stay with yourself moment, because you've been talking all about how easy it is to give yourself over to other people. And so I'm wondering if you have a practice or a ritual that you do that helps you stay with yourself in real time when you're around other people.
Yeah, I think for me, it's my breath. I think it's Very simple. If I'm kind of exiting a conversation in my mind, or if I'm nervous, or if I have some social anxiety, whatever it might be, if I'm present with somebody and I feel myself slipping, or I feel my nerves kick in, or that people pleasing tendency creep up, I always say to myself, inhale love, exhale fear. And sometimes I wake up literally in the middle of the night, and when I can't go back to sleep, I do this. And I'll go inhale love, exhale fear. And then I just try to feel like, again, somebody listening to this is like this idiot, right? Like this crazy, joyful person. It freaking works. And I feel good, damn it. So like,
yeah, I mean, as you said it, I could feel it in my body. And that's whatever the tool is, it doesn't matter what it is. It matters that it creates a shift in your experience of yourself.
Yes. And it makes my nervous system calm down. It makes me feel more present. It reminds me that our minds control everything. Our thoughts control everything. So to get myself back in a place of love, it's like a miracle. Those are miracles, like in those moments. And if you've ever read The Course in Miracles, like it's literally the whole premise of the book, which is returning to love and overcoming fear. And I truly have let fear lead the way a lot of my life. And I feel guided to guide people back to themselves in love. And so that, I think, just like even sums up what we talked about. Like, you fill yourself up and then you let go of what doesn't serve you.
That was me doing it right there. That was my big
too.
breath in of love, exhale fear. Because I need that. I need those remembrances all the time. So thank you for that one. That one's a good one. And I hope the person listening, maybe you did that too. Maybe you took that deep breath in and deep breath out with us. And I don't know. I feel like I want to give us all the homework. You, me, the person listening, that sometime in the next 24 hours, you do a hey, wait moment where you say no to something. And if it feels freaking terrifying, remember this feeling right here, right now, where there's a sense of like, oh, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only weirdo who has this problem. I'm not the only one that this is hard for. And it's important.
That's it.
It's important.
So important. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait for the world to take this theory and run. Run.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a little sunshine for us. You weren't at all annoying to me.
Thank you. And I'm just so grateful you're putting this out in the world. The world needs more of it, truly.
Thank you. Well, you're part of it.
Oh.
And thank you to the listener. Again, like I said, go out there, take your deep breaths, do something for you. Know that we're here supporting you. And as I always say before we go, hey, wait, remember that your insides matter and the right people can meet you there. So stay with yourself, and I'll see you next time.